I wanted to take a minute today at the beginning of the podcast and say thank you to our sponsor, Huber Engineered Woods. Huber has actually been a sponsor of the podcast since 2020 when we decided to start this little endeavor. Without our sponsors, this content is probably not something that happens. But I think the best part about having Huber as a partner on this is it's an incredibly authentic alignment. Peter, Steve, and I all use Huber Woods. I've been using Advantech Subfloor for coming on probably 21 years now. I've been using Zip System and Zip System with the insulation on the back, the Zip R, since 2013. It's a system that I believe in. That systems approach where things play well together. They have design parameters that allow you to use their system for what you're working on. It works. Their tech support's there. Their knowledge is there. I've never had an issue with their product, and it's a great thing that they've decided to sponsor the podcast. So thank you, Huber Engineered Woods.
All righty, Unbuilded Podcast. Yeah. I am excited. Why am I excited? Well, because you get Pete. No, you're not even say hello.
Not going to say anything.
We got Jake.
Yep.
And then we have a special guest.
Hello.
Matt Risinger.
Yes.
From The Build Show. Yeah. This Unbuilded Podcast. The best of times, the worst of times.
Oh, wow.
See, I knew I was going to be the target. That's why I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm planning on getting up and leaving this podcast in mid-process.
No, you're not.
You do know that.
No, you don't.
No?
No. Because you have to stick around. Like you have Howard Stern syndrome. You want to hear the next thing I have to say.
Oh.
You can't leave. I know you do.
All right.
So, best of times, worst of times. Topic today, we're going to talk about social media and the effect of information transfer. And I say best of times.
Hold on. You mean social media does information transfer? I'm not going to accept that on face value.
I know. That's why you're the worst of times, because you don't believe in it. And we have somebody that's kind of gone all in on believing it. So, and you guys are sitting away from or opposite the table. But, you know, what's really funny is about 15 years ago, Dan Morrison and I were walking through IBS, and we were talking about the evolution.
And who's Dan Morrison?
Dan Morrison, we worked with him on Green Building Advisor, was a former editor for Fine Home Building, now runs Pro Trade Craft.
Got it.
Does a great job. And he was at jail. He was, he's been around the block, let's just say.
He's a man.
He's a good guy.
And he's a very good guy. And I remember having the conversation with him talking about, you know, social media is going to be one of the greatest things that ever happened to the building industry. But social media is going to be one of the worst things.
Dan said that?
No, we were in a conversation. I don't know exactly who said that, but we were just talking about how it was going to be something great, but then it can be something bad too. And, you know, we sit around the table, 3 out of the 4 of us, I would say, are neck deep in social media. You choose not to. And I totally respect that. I know I tease you, but part of me, believe it or not, like this last summer, I took literally about 6 weeks off, didn't put up anything on YouTube and everything. And it wasn't that it was overwhelming. I was just experiencing the worst of times. And it's like, I just, like you, I don't want anything to do with it. But why don't we start with you? Because it's really easy to talk about what the benefits are. But I think it's really interesting to hear your perspective. And not that it isn't easily identifiable, but you're the furthest one in age away from what we do. And I say that in terms of, I'm sure that plays a role.
You know,
respectfully.
I get that. And when you say social media, could you explain like what the boundaries of that are? Like
using your phone to transfer information.
So email is direct communication.
Yeah.
Social media is, it's sort of out there in the Ethernet.
I always find it interesting. It doesn't matter whatever topic. You have to take it to some level of refinement.
Actually, I was following Jake's lead because Jake often at the beginning of our podcast says,
but
let's start by
he's doing it disrespectfully to be a a-hole. You do it respectfully because like you just want to provide. But see, this
clarity.
is right. And this is kind of the best of times inside the worst of times, right? Like you're having known you for as long as I have, you want to make sure people are getting very precise, very good information, but you're not willing to share it, which I find is
infuriating.
It's a huge anomaly because
that's where I was going.
Because if I can think of who is one of the people that should absolutely be on social media sharing information, your name would certainly rise to the top of that list, and you choose not to. So I'm glad that I can just call you and get whatever information, and we don't get to share it with everybody else on Instagram.
So if you and I are talking on the phone, that's not social media, right? Because it's not a bigger audience.
It's social. It's not media.
Yeah. So there.
I called you last week to talk about an argument.
Listen, guys, we don't want to talk about the pillow.
Pillow chat.
Okay.
I mean, it was 4:00 in the afternoon. He was in bed. He was whispering so I didn't wake up his wife.
He just got back from the buffet.
Okay. This is exactly why I don't like to participate in social media.
Brutal.
No, so you know that part of the problem is that a lot of the social media is sort of instant gratification. And so if I post something on Instagram and it's a snippet, I know that snippet is going to lead to other questions, or should. And a lot of times it just gets taken as at face value. Like, now I understand this because I got this little gem from somebody that I respect. When the problem with most of the work that we do, context is everything, and it's always more complicated. And so I feel like I'm going to get sucked down a rabbit hole if I do anything other than just post it and let it germinate. Because if I get back involved in there, my whole day is going to be gone with all the, but if we change this is the change in the answer to your question. So I feel that the medium that we're using encourages people to take things pretty much at face value and not dig deeper. Like I wanted an answer and I got it, and the context doesn't really matter.
I think that's a really good critique of why all of us should not like social media, right, Peter? Because no matter what, you only have a limited amount of time and a limited amount of knowledge to impart on social media. And so that greater context of here's why I'm doing this thing isn't able to be seen in the big picture. Would you say that's a fair explanation?
Yeah, but I have to admit that I find things like Instagram impenetrable. It just doesn't follow any rules for me as to how to use it. And I found myself groping around. And I'll never forget that.
Weird word choice.
Impenetrable.
Impenetrable groping. Go ahead.
Wow.
Sorry.
Now I'm groping for words because of how you talk about putting things in context. But I thought I could fall back on my age, but I remember that Steve organized the dinner at IBS for a whole bunch of people, and it was all of your social media cadre at that time. It was like 20 people, and they were all incredible folks, but I sat down next to Mike Girton.
Yep.
Now, he's an old fart like I am, and he was trying to explain to me how and why to use Instagram. And there was just smoke coming out of my ears because if Mike is telling me to do it, I can't play the old guy card. Right.
And Mike's good at it.
And he is very good at it.
I know.
But that's, I think, because he's a good teacher.
And he wants to deliver information in the precise way that you want to deliver information too. Like if you can't find a better example, I think, online of someone who is very worried about getting it exactly right and saying the exact right words so that no one can misconstrue what he's trying to teach.
But I can't do it. He can, and I can't. I don't know how else to explain it. I will say that when I worked at the NAHB Research Center, the shortest project I had was 3 months. The longest was probably 2.5 years. when I went to work for Building Green, a media company, I had to learn a topic, write it up, and let it go 30 days because it was a monthly publication. I struggled mightily to work at that company because the shortest project I'd ever done was 3 months. And they're like, Peter, after 30 days, you have to let this topic go. We're done with it. And so, I'm talking about publications as media. Your social media is even faster and shorter. So I don't know. I didn't realize this was going to be a Peter help session.
I'm just picturing a multi-part miniseries where we force Peter and Mike to live in a house together, and Mike to teach.
What is it called? Yeah, but what is it, like MTV, like on the block or something?
Yeah.
It's like
where Mike has to teach him to use the confuser.
But the coolest thing about Mike too is that when he worked with us on Green Building Advisor, and Steve and Mike and I met for 200 hours, probably.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Mike would not take payment. We kept, you got to turn in an invoice, man.
He's the nicest guy. But
if you know what his answer was? Oh, I'm learning way more than you could ever pay me for. I mean, he just is a remarkable.
He parked his car opposite my neighbor's driveway. They literally backed into his truck. The woman's like, "Oh, I'll give you insurance."
It was like
I'll just go home. I'll hammer that out. It's not a problem. Don't worry about it. And it was like,
I forgot about that.
I'll hammer it out.
Yeah, he's like, I can fix that. I'll hammer it. I'll get another
I picture
door.
Mike underneath yamming a 2x4 up inside of it and beating on it.
It was not something you could beat out a dent on.
No. She railed it.
And that was that truck that he had customized so he could sleep in it?
Yeah. Like on his drives to Colorado or something. But anyways, we'll get off.
Anyway, this is...
So then if the opposite of that is it's super easy to post, maybe you post every day.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the two of you guys because you post more than I do. And that information comes there's something to be posted about every time you go to a job site. Which I would say, if you're paying close attention, there probably is.
I think so. I mean, for instance, I was on a job site today with my son, who's a laborer for us, and he's on Christmas break, so he's working labor. And we have a brand new guy who started with us today. I guess he started Friday, so he's on day 2 of the job. And I thought, let me pull these guys aside and let's talk about why we use stainless steel sill pans on the concrete and what the problem with galvanized is. And so I did a 5-minute old guy lecture basically to my son and this 22-year-old kid on the job, and they took it pretty well. Like, they seemed to be interested, and I talked about why galvanized can work sometimes but not all the time, and we talked about what would make it rust and what's the difference between hot dipped and zinc plated galvanized. And at some point I realized, okay, their eyes are glazing over here. I need to probably dial this back and let them finish their Whataburger. But if you think of social media as a 5-minute visit with your next generation builder who's in the job, I think that's a good use for it. And it is, I'm like you a little bit, where sometimes I'm frustrated that when you see the questions, you're like, wow, this person has no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, they're off on why you need to use epoxy coated titanium as their correct choice, or, whatever the random tangent is. They don't get the point of what you're saying. But at the same time, if the point really is, let's pass on some wisdom, which I think is the point of the Build Show, which is the point of the Unbuilded podcast, which is the point of us making videos in general, is how do we pass on this wisdom to the next generation so they don't make the same mistakes? There can be a lot of value in it. And so that is the best of times, I think, is that passing on of some wisdom, knowing that sometimes it's going to be lost and there's going to be plenty of people that don't get it. But there's going to be enough people that get it that it's worth it. And as a side note to that, as a corollary, I was watching one of your videos today in your brand new series you just published over Christmas with Travis Burngard. He's standing in front of a Monopoly framed house. And Travis is talking about how he was watching social media in Kansas and seeing, I don't know if it was you or this is a snippet I was watching over lunch, but basically seeing how builders were doing a higher performance, better waterproofing details, better air sealing, and it encouraged him to do better. And now he's seeing the Kansas market where he builds do better and better things. And I've seen that with you in the last 10 years or so that I've known you. Like when you started posting stuff in Columbia where your business started, you were the only one who was doing really high performance stuff in Columbia. And I can think of 3 or 4 other builders off the top of my head now that aren't too far from you. I don't know if you consider them competitors or not, but they're building really good stuff, and they've really taken what they see you doing and gone, oh, if he can do that in my market, why shouldn't I? And I think that's the other best of times for social media, is this kind of rising tide of like, oh, I didn't know that was a good detail. Now I'm going to stop ordering galvanized pans on concrete near my pool because I know that the chlorine is going to rust it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to increase my practices, and I'm going to know better, and now I'm going to build better. So I think those are the 2 extremes.
I think you're 100% right. I think that's the thing that keeps me coming back too. Build Show Live last year, I had somebody come up after one of my talks and say, I don't know if you remember this, but we had a phone call in 2020, and I had reached out to you through Instagram to ask a couple questions about something. And after all of our conversation was over, you encouraged me to just go ahead and start my own business if the person I was working for wasn't going to do things the right way. And I'm going to do $4 million in revenue this year.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, cool. That's like, those simple connections don't happen if we, live in a silo.
Yeah.
And we live in a world where we can connect with people on a much larger basis.
Totally.
And a broader audience, 1 million people through YouTube or whatever it is.
It's pretty awesome.
That's pretty spectacular. I mean, we were in Norway 2 years ago. We were walking down the street, and the guy started hollering out names. Yeah. For a second, I was like, was that Norway? Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's a small planet all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That is the best of times. Let me bring up another point of the worst of times, though. I'm curious what you guys think about this. I feel like even in the last year or two, I'm starting to get more and more annoyed by short form video because of its addictive nature. And even just recently, I've started keeping my phone to charge in another part, not near my bed, because I've realized that, like, if I have my phone nearby, I can easily go to short form videos and get into the same scroll pattern that my 13-year-old does on YouTube. It's basically just mindless scrolling, and it's a dopamine hit, and that's some video about something stupid, but I'm wasting my life watching.
No, mine's
1
like
minute at a time.
Dumbass, idiot, stupid, never do that.
Either way, it's still wasting your time, right? And so I think recently I've become very annoyed by short form social media content that's intended to keep our attention or grab our attention or know this is some topic that I'd be interested in. And so I've become more and more aware of my inability to stop that if I start it. So now I've put some guardrails around that. I don't keep my phone in the bedroom anymore at night. I keep it in the other room charging. So I can't. Now I'm going to grab my book rather than my phone. I realized almost the entire month of December, I went to bed doing this, scrolling through my phone for 20 minutes, not talking to my wife, not reading, not doing something that would have lasting value, but instead watching some dumb short form videos. And that really bothered me. And I finally realized that over the Christmas break and was like, oh, we're making a change here. We're not going to let this rule. What do you guys think about the shorter?
I think it's
format?
A very isolating device, and it can be if you let it run your life. Exactly what you're saying. I think that the same thing happened when television came out. People thought you're going to be a bump on a log if you let it rule your life.
True.
We're still trying to figure out as a society how to handle it, how to behave with it.
Right.
I'm glad I'm not 14 years old and trying to figure it out.
It's true.
Because that sounds incredibly difficult.
It is. Entertain yourself to death, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, and, the system for short form videos is sort of set up to do exactly what you're describing, which is to get you to continue to scroll. And one of my frustrations with Instagram is that it all of a sudden because of what I'm looking at, decides that, oh, you should look at this. And I can't get back to the original video I was looking at because it's trying to pull me off on this tangent.
That's true.
And so by structure, it's doing what will get people to view more content, but it's not helping me the way I would like to use it. And, you know, I have to admit, part of it is I am frustrated with phone technology in general because, and here's my perfect example. I have to do the update in my phone to keep it current. But one of the side effects of an update is now when I have 4 tabs open on Google, I have to go down and select a different button first to get back to those 4 tabs. And it's part of the update to improve the system. And it's not an improvement at all to me. It's something that has changed for a reason that they think it's going to pull me into more screens being open, I guess, more tabs on that device. And so I find that sort of, we are caught in this really difficult place of the benefits and the downfalls of technology. I mean, let me give you an example.
Do you have any examples?
Can we get at least one example?
And you're doing this because you know I'm going to forget the example.
Yeah,
I understand that. When my wife and I decided that
that squeaking noise is Matt moving the mic, by the way, for anybody that can hear it.
Sorry.
He and I think
Example.
the one person I thought I could trust not to keep me from getting to my example.
Get to the example.
Yeah. Now you're going to feel really bad because of the example. When my wife and I were adopting our first daughter, the term adoption is cold, and we thought that it didn't really represent what we were going through. So we were looking for a term that was not about the legal aspects of adopting a child. It was about how to build a family. And I thought, hey, and this was probably, let's see, Katie was born in 1998. So this is probably a year or two before that. And it was just at the point where you could, I could look up the Etymological Society based in Chicago. And I wrote an email to the Etymological Society in Chicago explaining my question. And I just thought, who knows who's going to answer this? We got answers from Africa, Eastern European countries. We didn't get any from Asia, but we got for free all these people that said, oh, in our language, we do have a term that connotes building a family in a different way. And it was a term that we couldn't use because it was unintelligible in another language. But I just thought, this is amazing.
That's pretty cool.
That we could do something this cool. It would have taken me probably 2 years to do the research on all the answers we got back. And I did it in 2 days for free.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
At the same time, people are, decapitating journalists, video recording it because they knew that they could get all those hits in a way. So every tool that we build can be used and abused.
Yeah.
And I think that,
it's true.
And the next thing coming down the pike is AI. And it's pretty amazing what it can do, but it absolutely terrifies me about what it can do.
There are limitations. When we took that last break between the last podcast and this one, I tried to put your face on the Army of Darkness poster because of Pete the Disruptor in our last conversation, and it told me it wouldn't do it.
And why am I not surprised that that's what you chose to do?
That was when I took our break, by the way.
Oh, Jake. You are the best of times and the worst of times.
Steve, I want to hear what your best of times is. What do you think the best and highest use is?
So, mine is more selfish. So years ago, one of the books I've read, I haven't read many, because I don't know. We're not going to go there. That's a whole nother podcast. But anyways, and it was about information and transferring it. And it said that it's why people always ask, why do you post your drawings? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Because we have a certain level of capacity to understand things and hold information. And so for me to create space, just like a computer, to move on, I need to get rid of some stuff. So if I give up that information and everybody sees how I did that Monopoly frame detail, it forces me to press on beyond that.
That's cool.
And most of the time, I'm already beyond it anyways. If I'm posting a detail, chances are I have a new edition of it. A new version of it.
That's awesome.
But it really has allowed me, and it's literally forced me to think beyond that. Because if I sit there and say, hey, this is a really cool detail of this over-vented roof assembly, and if I hold my cards, like this and I don't show it, then all I'm ever going to do is sit here holding my cards. But if I throw them down on the table, it forces me to redeal and get a new set, right? And figure it out. And so I've always kind of been on that. And I guess it's somewhat selfish, but the idea is.
Yeah, why do you say that's selfish? I think that's
selfish in that it's like I'm putting this information in social media, not like really to help you. I put the detail out there and it does help you, but I'm actually getting rid of my trash and you're seeing it as something else, but it's forcing me to move on to the next step because I can't necessarily look beyond that until I get rid of it.
We're garbage men in that example,
and
by the way, Matt.
If it's not in front of me, but I do have one as we kind of go around the table because this one is going to hit us a lot differently than it might hit them. One of the big problems I have with social media is what, maybe 2010-ish, plus or minus, right?
Yeah.
Is that safe?
Yeah.
I started working at Building Science Corporation in 96, right? With you and everybody. And I see people putting up stuff and then people commenting on it like, oh my God, you just invented sliced bread. And it's like, no, we did that like recess in the truss cavity in Pueblo, Colorado in 1999.
That's awesome.
And we built 5 houses. Social media didn't exist. The information existed, but where that information came from. And it's like, I always get dinged. I'm going to use one of my examples, the kind of slabless slab. Like everybody says, oh, that wasn't yours and this and that. The reality is around 1998, when I 97, 98, when I bought my house, we had a slab on grade, uninsulated. Joe and I worked out that detail of putting insulation on top. And I said, okay, well then I want to do hardwood floor. And he's like, yeah, we'll laminate 2 layers.
Oh, I didn't realize you worked on that detail with Joe.
Yeah. So this is like 1997, 1998, where we worked on that detail. Now it didn't resurface until years later with other people and other builders and stuff. But the reality is a lot of that information was derived from some other place. And, I think part of Joe's like, hey, we need to get this information from them and press on is that we need to kind of keep that lineage. One of the things that always impressed me about Joe is if you bring something up, Joe can trace that lineage back a pretty long way. Well, yeah, that showed up here, but that wasn't even his idea. That was this guy's idea, but he really got it from this guy in Germany.
Right.
And he'll cite all of these things. But yet then there's somebody that's putting it up on social media and they're giving it as like, hey, this is God's gift to the building industry that I did. And even my stuff, like I try and be true about, hey, this, we did this here, but we've done this before.
Does it matter though?
I don't think it necessarily.
It might be irritating when somebody's saying like, oh, I discovered this, I made this.
Yeah.
But in the end, does it matter?
It probably doesn't. And I mean, that's the part of like, you need to kind of, the minute you accept social media, you have to accept there's going to be haters out there. There's going to be challenges and all of this stuff. I have my best friend from high school. I've known this guy since 5. He texts me probably 3 or 5 times a week with spelling errors in my posts. Like,
I didn't know that we were allowed to do that.
and he texts me and he's like, hey, you spell, you're wrong or something, because it's a stupid spell check, right? And literally, yes, I post a lot, but let me tell you, I put up the photo, send, and I forget about it.
Yeah.
It just goes. And he's like, hey, you spelled this wrong. I was like, Zim, I don't give a crap.
It doesn't matter.
I don't care. And Holly even yelled, my wife, she over the weekend, she's like, you spelt this wrong. I'm like, it's a story. It's going to be gone in 6 hours.
It's fine.
Like, it's fine. Yes, I spelt there wrong. It's like, whatever. So yes, you do have to get over it. Now, I actually, in another selfish arena, like YouTube, like commenting keeps me out of jail, right? That like I can sit there and like really be a hater, want to get a gun, load it, go find some people. Or I can just go on YouTube and combat intellectually, right? Like someone says, oh, I would never do this. Oh, okay. So now you're a genius. Well, next time when we're designing a house, I'll certainly call you. You'll be my first call to develop this assembly, right? I get those all the time. So So that's how I wind down. I don't do the flip, but a lot of times before I go upstairs, where he's sitting flipping, I'll go on YouTube before I shut off my computer and I'll pick one of the videos either I shot or we shot or something, and I'll go through the comments and I'll be like, oh, yep, hate, did that.
I've got another worst of times version for you, though. I'm curious what you guys think about this. I feel like we've done a good job of the Build Show of only bringing on people that know what they're talking about, that maybe every once in a while, one of us will say something that was dumb and we don't catch it and it gets posted. But for the most part, 98, 99% of what we're posting is pretty accurate from a true building science perspective.
And Travis's videos.
Not including Travis, is what I meant to say.
I thought he was talking about Brian.
As long as Brian's wearing a sweater, I'm happy. So,
or his hiking helmet, his wall climbing helmet.
Sorry, go ahead.
So what do you do, though, when you see, to Peter's point, somebody espousing wrong information? I mean, there's only so much we can do in terms of commenting and taking the comment gun out. I mean, that in some respects, that is the worst of times, is that you've got someone who's, for whatever reason, has a good megaphone and is telling people the wrong way to do something.
Or what even aggravates me more is when somebody puts up a product and says, oh, this is the best vapor retarder, smart vapor retarder. And then the next project they're doing poly. I'll message them. I call them out. I'm like, I thought you said Myrex was the best vapor retarder. Did you not get it for free this time? Right? Or whatever the case is. But to answer your question, if I can rebut the information in a couple quick sentences, and this is for somebody I like, if I can rebut it in a couple quick sentences, then I'll respond. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't kind of agree with that. I would typically choose this. Mm-hmm. If I totally hate the person, I'll write a dissertation there, and it'll be a nice long message. But for the most part, it's like, yeah, they're either like so far off base, it really isn't, because then I'm going to go down your rabbit hole and just keep getting reply after reply, and we'll be into this all day. But if I can just throw one quick sentence out and say, this is how I think of that.
The original, let me make a quick rebuttal to that. The original kind of worst of times for me was even before social media started, when I feel like the HGTV kind of cable home improvement shows, I felt like in the early 2000s, were giving people wrong information, including that show that's really popular that people were getting building advice for when they really should be getting design advice from. But HGTV in particular, I felt very upset at that they perpetuated this. Oh, kitchen remodels are $40 a square foot, or new constructions
and timelines. And timelines.
And timelines, that's right.
I always wanted to go to not HGTV, but one of their competitors and say, we should do a show where we return 1 year after
that would be
to see if the people are living the way that space. Because everything like, oh, we put these pencils in a jar.
Yes.
right? And it's like, let's see if the pencil jar is still on the table a year later.
I have a specific example of that. Remember the show where you had to move the bus at the end?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was one of those in my neighborhood, and it was a dump of a house, and they came and totally redid it all. And within months, it looked like it was ready to be torn down.
Yeah.
Like it was a total slap together job that looked great for the camera. And within months, it was just falling apart.
Yeah.
It looked awful. Actually, I'm curious whether it's still standing or not. It was a really, really bad. I'd be willing to bet every window in that house leaked, knowing how they installed the windows.
But you get, we did the Building Science 401, and somebody talked about like, oh, they're finally talking about ICFs. And it's like, they go down that road. And I like commented, I was like, first of all, it said something like, ignorance is best served silent or something like that. But anyways, beyond that,
Cold?
But I told him, I said, did you ever give it a thought? Maybe we just don't do a lot of ICF projects. Like, what do you want me to go build a house out of ICF just so I can shoot a video to satisfy your needs? It's like, we shoot videos based on what we're interacting with and what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we don't do a lot of them.
I kind of feel as though, just like all the other tools we've created, of course, there's going to be really superior uses and others that we wish we had not created. I mean, it's just the nature of how man improves him or herself, right? We create new tools, and those new tools can be used in horrible ways, and they can be used in really incredible ways. I mean, I think about the website that Building Science Corporation has. BuildingScience.com is all for free, when Joe and Betsy could have monetized the living daylights out of that. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do it for two reasons. One is because Joe is, I think, a bit of a building science socialist, which I'm sure he doesn't like to hear me say. But the other part of it was,
I'll make sure I tag him on this podcast.
You don't have to worry about telling him on social media, because he's a bit like me when it comes to social media.
He actually commented on a post the other day on LinkedIn.
Did he really?
On LinkedIn. Shocked. I was like, damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of that information was created under the Department of Energy's Building America program, and they thought, that was funded by the federal government.
It needs to be free.
And what they could do is go and do a Freedom of Information Act to get that information back. Now it's no longer paid for by the, you know what I'm saying? We built that information with federal dollars, but if you go and request the very information that you created for free from the FIFA Act, now you've gone around the back door, sort of, and now you can post it and monetize it.
You're going to love this. The other day I was talking with a friend of all of ours, a bearded friend, and somehow somehow I just threw this out, and it's very pertinent to what you said. With the advancement of technology comes the expansion of failure, or expansion of the spectrum of failure.
That's interesting.
Right? Every time we create something that we think is better for us, we've just expanded our failure mode as a culture, or the potential to fail.
Yeah.
Right? So we get information. Yeah, it's great to have social media, but what does that mean? It means that all of these other businesses can now thrive on your phone that we probably don't want or need in our culture.
I do think too that, and we can see this with AI, that people are tempted to look at the AI summary, which doesn't distinguish all the time between peer-reviewed information and published information and just stuff that's out there. And that's dangerous, because that's how you get stuff that is not scientifically based, and it's treated with the equal elevation as stuff that's peer-reviewed journals.
That's interesting.
All right. Before we go, I do have a question for all of you.
Uh-oh.
Do you want to hear a really good joke on construction?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I'm still working on it.
Oh boy.
Look at the camera guy's laughing. He's chuckling over there. I love you, Daniel.
He broke the third wall.
Sympathy laugh.
That was a good one.
From the peanut gallery.
I love
what happens
playing
when the camera guy's afraid of you. He laughs at your jokes.
Matt, thanks for coming on board.
For sure.
Yes.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
And
Let me just say that you guys are the pinnacle in the industry. And I appreciate all of you, including Peter, doing your best to pass on your wisdom. You may not do it on social media every day, but I watched your Wingnut presentation from Build Show Live from 2 years ago, just a week or two ago. And I'm looking forward to getting an update on where the gaskets are for the window install. I mean, I think that the four of us have been particularly like-minded with saying, hey, this whole industry that we love, and I know you guys are like me, have made plenty of mistakes. We want to make sure that next generation doesn't make those same mistakes.
Here, here.
And whether we share them on Instagram or YouTube or the Build Show or wherever, I think that what we're doing is literally making a difference in the industry, and that rising tide is floating all boats. So if I could steal the ending of the show on the, it's not my podcast, but on the best times, worst of times, I want to say that the Unbuilded podcast is an incredible asset for the best of times. And if for some reason this is your first time listening to the Unbuilded podcast, you need to hit that subscribe button, because these three who have a lot of gray hairs, maybe not as much you, but these two that have a lot of gray hairs.
He's working on it.
Well, he's losing them. They're not changing colors.
fair.
If you look at the photos of
Just wear
like
'em in
6
different
years
places.
ago,
Really?
yeah, there's some peninsulas up there that are.
These guys are sharing wisdom on a continual basis. So I'm thankful to be in the trenches with you guys on that.
Here, here.
No, thank
Well,
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you for
Matt.
joining us today.
For sure.
If you would like to send criticism about Mr. Reisinger, it's questions@Unbuilded Podcast. Or if you have a question or comment, best of times or worst of times. Matt, thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Or want to just provide a very polite, like, I love Steve's dad jokes.
That's true.
Feel free.
That's true.
Right in.
I love them.
Until next time, have a good day.
Bye-bye.